having me here. I actually love coming out to High Prairie. I had such a lovely time making sausage or bratwurst with Myron. It was really a thrill. I love this community and I love all the people here. So, now the mean stuff. So, I brought a couple of things for you tonight. The first thing that I brought for you is the Clickitat County Assessor's Mass Appraisal Report. This is something that's really good to read if you are trying to get to sleep and you want to go to sleep. There's a lot of information in it, but it is pretty complicated. A lot of people think that it's kind of like some mysterious black box on how we come up with these values, and some days I kind of feel like it is. But what we have is we have a computer-aided mass appraisal system that we use. It's called ProVal, and we have some experts on that system in our midst today. But basically, what we do is the first thing we do is we look at vacant land sales. And so we'll look at what land is selling for in your area, and we come up with different values for land. And the first acre always sells for more than the second acre, and then like 2nd to 5 will sell for a little bit less, and then 5 to 10 a little bit less. So we have these graduated land tables. So when you look at your land and you look at a sale, we don't do it on a per acre basis. We actually look at that graduated sale as it goes up. So that's the first thing we do. Then what we do is we have all the characteristics of your property. When our inspectors have gone out and inspected your property, we take the measurements of it. We look at what type of construction is, what type of roof you have, how complicated it was to build. We look at the condition, and we put those two things together. And it's called like a modified sales approach because it's not strictly a cost approach. If we stopped right there, it would probably be a cost approach. But Washington State requires that we're at market value. So what we do after that is if that land and that cost don't equal what things are selling for, we're going to adjust the prices up or down depending on where you're at. We actually have many areas where we have to adjust down. Roosevelt's a perfect example. The land plus the home that's built there, it sells for less than it would cost to build. So we have to adjust down for market value. That's what we try to be. So when you look at your values, you're going to see sometimes the land value may go up or down, and then you may see the house type or the house value go up and down. And it seems confusing to people because how could my house increase and my land go down? And that's because of the way that we do our valuations. So this explains this in a little bit more detail, and I'm happy to discuss the way we value a little bit more. But I want to tell you about something new that we've done this year because we're trying to be very transparent with what goes on in our office. So I brought a couple copies of this. And we used to just put out a camera report, and the camera report would list all the sales, but you couldn't really tell where they were at. You couldn't tell how many square feet they were. These actually have pictures of each of the homes, and you can go on our website, clickitatcounty.org /assessor, and you go to the 2014 Mass Appraisal Reports, and it has the year it was built, it has the quality, the condition, everything is right there. And if you zoom into like 300%, these are full color pictures. So you can see why we may have made an adjustment. And typically what happens, let's say you have a ranch style home, you'll want to look through this and you'll want to look at the ranch style homes because that's probably going to be the sale that caused your value. If it went up or if it went down, that's probably what it's going to be. We also have in the back, we have the ones without the pictures. Those are the land sales that we use to come up with those values. Now, I brought ones for Centerville, and I also brought them for this area here. So I encourage you though, if you have a value that went really wonky, like you're like, is this person insane? You should definitely call our office because there could be characteristics that are wrong on your property record. Unfortunately, we're still cleaning up our property records and trying to get them as clean as we can. But we'll occasionally find a house type that's incorrect. We've had people that had square footage in their home where we showed it as finished square footage and it wasn't finished. So in those cases, those people are actually being overvalued. We've had cases where an addition was built onto a house and it didn't get sketched properly. It got kind of sketched as a freestanding ranch. So basically that person was being valued for like 2 separate homes. So we corrected that sketch, and we actually found several others in our system which we corrected. So if you think here's the issue with your property, please call us, because we are more than happy to take a look at your property and make sure we have it correct. I did bring one other report for you, because this is a very big ag area. This right here is the appraisal report for the current use valuation. And these values tell you how we come up with the values for farmland. And we have an open space advisory board that has 5 members on it. And they get together and they tell us, and we come up and look at what the typical lease rates for land is. And then we take the capitalization rate that the Department of Revenue gives us to come up with the valuation for these. It's kind of complicated, but it's based on the input that I get from the farming community. So I'm sure we have some questions, so what can I answer for you? Yes, sir.
Where does your budget come from?
My budget comes from the current use. Well, it comes from taxes, I guess. Everything that comes into the county, the Board of County Commissioners controls all the money. I'm an elected official. They're the ones that's in charge of all of the money. And they put all the property tax that comes in. They also put in money that they get from the landfill, and then they divvy it out where they think it's important to spend money. So they control my budget. Yes, sir.
So my understanding is it's clear that you come up with the value of our property and improvements, and then that is applied to a tax rate, and then we pay a certain amount. And it seems like the conspiracy is that when the value of your property goes down, will they raise the tax rate so that the end product is the same or more than it was last year? Could you explain the rest of the equation of how we end up paying a certain amount of money in our property taxes?
I would be happy to explain that. Washington State is not a levy-based system. We actually had some very active voters that got together, and originally taxing districts, because what happens is I take all the value that's in each taxing district, and then I take the budgets from each of the taxing districts and divide it out between all the people. And the more value you have, the bigger piece of the pie you get, which, you know, you want to have a smaller piece than a bigger piece. But anyways, it used to be taxing districts could just levy whatever they wanted, and the only recourse that voters had would be to vote those taxing commissioners out of place, like if fire district could go crazy. Well, the voters got together and they passed a 6% limit, so they weren't allowed to increase their budgets by more than 6%. Well, that wasn't really good enough, so now they went and passed another initiative, and this is the 1% that you might be familiar with. Taxing districts cannot increase their budgets by more than 1% from what they were the previous year. So your fire district that you have here, they're limited by that 1%, but they do get new construction, which makes sense, because if you've got new buildings being built, there's going to be additional costs for them. So they do get to add for new construction, but they're limited by that 1%. So what happens, and what you think is a conspiracy, is when everybody's values drop, theoretically, your taxes stay the same. But on the opposite side is if everybody's values all increased, your taxes would still stay the same, because it's a budget-based system with only that 1% increase. So it seems like an evil conspiracy when your values drop, but if everybody's values go up, it should be in your benefit. They should stay the same. Did I confuse you more?
No,
Yes.
but I don't know that.
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't study numbers a lot, but it sounds like you're saying that you can only raise, the assessor's office can only raise the taxes 1%. Is that correct?
Well, no, what happens is it's all of the taxing districts. So the Board of County Commissioners set the budgets for the county current use and then also the county roads. They have 2 that they levy for. The hospital district has a levy, the fire districts have levies. Each of them can only increase by 1%. They send what they want to me, and then I divide it out. But they're the ones that actually controls how much is levied and not levied. Let me give you an example of a very responsible district. You know about the wind turbines, and the wind turbines were all considered new construction. So we had a fire district that had a budget of like $25,000, and all of a sudden it ballooned up to $200,000. And what happens now is because the wind turbines are depreciating, if they continue to levy and ask for that additional 1%, what would happen is the tax rate would increase for everyone. But because they're responsible, and I've met with them and explained to them, they are only levying what they need to do to provide the services that they are charged with doing for their district. And so they're actually asking for less than they technically can. And that's pretty much what you want every district to do. We ask them to protect us from fire, only ask for how much money you need to provide your services. So you don't have to ask, you don't have to have that 1% increase. You just, and those are all their taxing districts, and you get to vote those people in. So that's why it's important who are your fire district commissioners, who's on all these different commissions, because they're the ones that set the levy rates or the tax budgets that go to me that increase your taxes, or could increase. Hopefully they will decrease, but they won't.
Wow. Okay, that makes more sense.
Oh, good.
So now, there seems to be a problem in my studies with the county that the county commissioners control all the money. You said this at the beginning?
Yes, they do.
And they control your budget.
They
They
do.
control the prosecuting attorneys. I thought she was going to hit it. She's strong.
They control all the budgets.
And so, even though you're the one that's responsible under the Washington law, you still don't have control over the money.
No, I don't. I don't. To be honest with you, from 2006, and I'm going to be going with numbers off my head, to now, my budget has increased by 6.25%. The tax revenue has gone from about $2 million to $4 million because of the wind turbines. The wind turbines are a huge amount of value. I'm responsible for valuing that. And also during that time, the law changed where I used to just, the assessor's office did a quarter of the county each year. Now I have to do all of it. So we've gone from having to value 5,000 parcels to 20,000 parcels. And my budget has not increased with that level of responsibility. So I work very hard to try and do what I can with the resources that I have. I wish I had more resources because I could do a better job, but I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job with the resources I have. And being a conservative Republican, I like to say, hey, I'm doing what I can with the least amount of money. I don't want to be the person that's saying, give me more money. I'm just not that kind of person. I want everyone in government to say, I can do more with less. So I'll wear it as a badge, even though sometimes I don't like it. Yes?
You might share with everyone, and I am always surprised that this is not as public, what the percentage of our property taxes that comes back to the county and the percentage that goes to the state.
Oh, you mean the state school? Yeah, I think when it comes to your taxes, I'm going to be going off my head, it's either 40 or 60% is for the state school levy. So most of the taxes are not staying here in the local government. They're actually going to the state school, and then the school will give it out as they see fit, which is always under question. How did they come up with that? But yes, you're exactly right. That's true. A huge portion does not stay here locally. Is there any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'll be polite and stand up this time. I'm not upset with my property taxes. I think they're fair. But I am upset with the disparities between properties.
Okay.
And I have some very good friends that I've talked to, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And at one point you said your assessors go out and do measurements and that type of thing. Are they supposed to tell you when they come on your property? Because I haven't seen anyone in a long time.
So what I instruct my appraisers to do, when we're out doing our regular revaluation, if they look at your property and it appears to pretty much reconcile with the property record that we have, they just take a picture of it and they don't get out of their car. I don't make them, go up and knock on the door because unfortunately we just don't have the time to do that. But if they get out of the car and they see that there's like a new outbuilding that isn't on your property record and they have to get out and measure it, they have to go to your door, knock on the door, and if they're there for an inspection, there's a little box that they check that says, I was here for an inspection. If they're out doing a percent complete, let's say it wasn't 100% complete, and they're not able to get inside, they check a little box to say, I was here to check the completion. So they are supposed to leave you a card. If you're not there, if they get out of their card and they walk on your property and do a measurement. If they're just driving, we don't have the ability to get out and leave a card for every single person. They'd never get through the amount that we have to inspect.
How many assessors do you have?
Right now, I'm an accredited appraiser. I have my supervisor assessor who's accredited. I have Dan McCabe who's accredited, and I have Don Adams who's accredited. So we have, really 4 of us, but I don't really get to go out in the field that much. I really have 2 really that do the appraisal, and they have to go out and inspect about 5,000 parcels. Every year for the revaluation, we have to go out and do the inspections for new construction. There's about 200 in white salmon for new construction and about 125 in the Goldendale area. So we have a lot that we do have to inspect. And we don't have a lot of appraisers. There used to be more. Oh, I have a part-time appraiser too, Jeremy Clifford. He's an outside contractor.
Does anybody besides me ever complain about disparities
Well, you know what I would like? If you could call me and I will take a look and find out, because one of the things that I have been battling for is better technology. There is it's called GeoAnalyst, which integrates the mapping service with the computer-aided mass appraisal. It combines them together. Right now, they're completely separate. So if I want to look at your property and then you tell me your neighbor is in, I have to go to Interactive Mapping Service, copy this in, put it in here, and then try and figure out how is he coded differently than this guy. And we have a couple of different codes. We have one, we call it 2514, that's typically for acreage. Then we have some that may have steep access issues. We have different coding that may result in a lower value based on if you can't get a septic system in, or you have to put in different types of things. So we have coding, and the only reason that you would be a different value than your neighbor would be because of that coding. But if you call me, I can find out why it's coded differently. But the GeoAnalyst is, I'm praying that we can get this installed eventually. It will allow me to look at a map and I can make sure 2514, 2514, 2514, everybody's going to be valued the same. So when it comes to farms that are in the current use program, there's a little bit more variation because those are kind of valued on their productive capacity. So we're going to look at a farm, and if it's enrolled in the program and has the ability to grow wheat on it, it's going to be valued higher than if you can only raise cattle on it, four weeks out of the year. So there's when you look at farms or people that are enrolled in that program, there's a lot of variation. But if you call me, I can look them up and I can find out why. And I appreciate it when discrepancies are brought into my office, because I really, truly want everyone to be valued fair and equal. I really, really do. Yes?
How much does the GeoAnalyst software cost?
Well, I've already purchased it.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to work with my technical services department to try and get it installed.
That's always fun.
And Alan can verify, we're trying to get the check-in, check-out, which I was, it would be so awesome if I had that, because that allows me to check out an entire neighborhood and then bring it on my computer. So this gentleman back here that has a question and wants to know why is he being valued different than his neighbor, I could check it right here. But unfortunately, I don't have a very strong technical services department, So we're trying to work through issues like that, but those are the kind of technology that would really help me improve that office. And I'm slowly working on trying to get those in. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for having me here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so we only have a little bit left to do here tonight. And we've got of course, got the ballots back and the results, and everybody got it.